What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the PokerNews podcast. We are live from all of our COVID stations around the world, joined by Jeff Platt and Chad Holloway. How are you gentlemen doing?
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sarah. Read some good news on some coronavirus vaccine laboratories. So positive day, positive thinking, positive way that we are going to deal with this crisis.
And
Thank you for asking.
I'm doing pretty good too. I got my first little taste of sports, which I know there are a lot of people out there clamoring for with the NFL draft. And as a big Miami Dolphins fan, they had a lot of draft capital. I got to say it was pretty good for me, for the franchise. I'm very excited. And now it's just back to waiting for more sports.
And Sarah, I know you knew this, but I'll ask Chad the question. Chad, how excited are you with Tua coming to Miami?
I am very excited. That's where I wanted them to go with, their number 5 pick, and that's where they went. So pretty excited about that, pretty energized. It's something I think the fans needed, the franchise needed, and hopefully we'll get some sort of NFL season later in the year. As we all know, COVID-19 is wreaking havoc, not only on the poker world, not only in the sports world, but just on the world in general. So
I'm telling you, man, New York Times said that there's this lab at Oxford University. They think they could have a vaccine ready by September. They think they could have the first few million doses. So that's the most positive outlook I've seen. If a vaccine is somewhat available by then, we're going to have some football come this fall.
Listen, I trust no one, first of all, and certainly I don't trust the New York Times.
Oh boy, here we go. Here we go.
But
here we go.
I do want to know what the plan is with your beard. So is this like when we go out of quarantine, are we gonna do like any kind of shaving? Or because if you guys haven't seen, by the way, Jeff Platt is in a serious battle with a bird.
Oh, true.
And I'm not kidding. You guys need to go follow him on Twitter. This bird is fully coming for Jeff and his dog, and it's one of the most hysterical things I've seen come out of Jeff Platt ever.
Buddy, let's go. Come on. Jesus Christ. Buddy, come on. Gotta get out of this man's way. Come on. Chasing us. Oh shit! He's chasing us. We got to go, man. We got to go. Oh shit!
I mean, we walk the same route every single day. We have never been bothered until last week, and this bird just started coming after me. And the first time I felt something brush against my neck, and I was like, "Was that a bird?" And then, it happened a couple more times. And so I finally decided to record it. I guess the bird is very territorial. And I mean very territorial because I tried to avoid the one spot where I just thought he was lingering or where his nest was, et cetera, et cetera. And so I stayed pretty far away and I heard it chirping and I was like, oh boy, it's coming after me once again. My great dog buddy, who's awesome, but he doesn't have a care in the world about the bird. Like, I'm like, can you bark a little bit, scare him off? He's just not concerned in any way. So we've completely altered our route. Maybe it was the bird. Maybe I should go, or the beard. Maybe I should go back clean shaven and we'll see if that bird messes with me some more.
Ideas.
But a good quarantine beard, I feel, Sarah. I think it'll be trimmed down significantly if we ever make it back into the live poker world.
I did see, and maybe this is something we ought to talk about also. So I saw on your socials, Poker Central is part of, and Chad Holloway is also in fact part of this, as well as Run Good, this fundraising campaign called Keep the Lights On. And I did see you were the one who sort of kicked off the video for the Keep the Lights On campaign. Full beard. You went out, you didn't even like trim it up for the video.
We went full beard. I was just going for it. I said if I didn't cash in any tournaments, maybe I would consider shaving. Maybe I would consider knocking it down a decent amount. But yeah, Sarah, you said it. It's the Keep the Lights On initiative. It's to benefit our friends in the poker media freelance world. I mean, Chad knows this better than anybody. Take one of our awesome live reporters that works for PokerNews, who has their whole schedule filled out for the rest of the year. They're going to travel from tournament to tournament to tournament, and boom, like all of their future income just gets ripped away. Just like that. and they're freelance. So they're not under the umbrella of a company for not only income, but benefits also. So Tana Karan and the Run Good team came up with this terrific idea. Poker Central, Global Poker, they've been great partners in this to get some online poker streaming going and to just try to raise money. And Chad can speak to this point, but he and Rob with the World Series of Poker and Matt with the World Poker Tour, Chad, you guys are going to make sure this fund is used in a very efficient manner, I would say.
Yeah, we're already reaching out to, all the freelance reporters around the world who might need some help during this time. And, I've been in touch with many of them myself, many who have done work with PokerNews and elsewhere. And, these efforts are very much appreciated. I want to give a quick shout out too to, I know Phil Hellmuth donated $5,000 to the Keep the Lights On initiative. Brandon Stevens, during your actual stream, came on and made some big donations. It's pretty incredible to see these poker players come out and make these big donations. And we also have I know one of the more popular things is Run Good has this Keep the Lights On hoodie, specially designed, $50, and all that money goes directly to this fund. So I ordered one. I put it out there on Twitter. A lot of people have ordered it. That's been really popular. And Jeff, I got to tell you, it's raising a lot of money, a lot more money than I think I expected, which is really, really awesome because there's a lot of poker media freelance workers out there that could use the help.
There's a little clause in the official documents that say something to the effect of, if the fund is not able to raise $500, then Run Good will donate $500 to the overall fund. And we're at $17,000 or $18,000 at a bare minimum. So Chad wrote a great article on PokerNews.com, which is a great summary for all of it. I'm streaming once a week for Team Poker Go. We have Jamie Kerstetter for Team Run Good. At the time of taping, she's starting today. We have Brian Frenzel, the Golden Blazer, who's streaming for Team Global Poker. They're on their Twitch pages. I'm on PokerGo's Facebook page. Chad said it, shop.pokergo.com to pick up one of those hoodies with 100% of the proceeds going towards this fund. And you can pledge to one of us. You can pledge per cash. So every cash we get more money. Sarah, I went 2 for 10 on Monday, which was, not fantastic, but I did start off 0 for 6, and I was worried that we would be raising $0 for the Keep the Lights On fund. So I'm happy to have at least rallied at the end for a couple.
It's a lot of pressure. And actually, I will say though, Jeff, I've just from someone else in the poker media, I did happen to notice that you had slightly more donations on your side than even Jamie Kerstetter, who's kind of a big deal and kind of famous in poker. So I was like, Jeff kind of popped on the scene like couple years ago, and all of a sudden now he's like really a big deal. So I just wanted to give a hats off to you.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Sarah, because I could easily credit Phil Helmuth's $5,000 donation to my page for bumping me up over everybody, but I'm not. I'm going to take all the credit myself and say, take that, Kerstetter. Yeah,
that's right. It's not about how many fans you have; it's about how much money those fans have.
Right.
Exactly. That's what really matters. Well, it's it's been interesting because a lot of people that I know and a lot of people that, are in different industries who still really don't understand what I do have been asking, what's going on with your job? How are things going with your job? And I do feel really fortunate, even though a lot of things are shifting for us. And as we spoke about, there's a lot of changes for the live reporters and a lot of our peers and colleagues. There's still a lot going on in poker. And we are really lucky to have an industry that can pretty easily transition to the online space. So we want to talk about some of those things going on and some of the ways that we can stay busy watching our poker. It's something, by the way, we spoke to Elke Bertrand-Grospellier. We'll get to him later in the show. And he talks a little bit about, trying to keep poker interesting, and especially watching online poker, keeping it interesting. And one of the things we spoke about last week was the Poker Masters, which was going down. There was some incredible competition happening, and let's talk a little bit about how that finished.
Yeah, sure. Alexandros Kolonius wins the inaugural Poker Masters online. So it's just like the real thing, Sarah. He's taken home a purple jacket. He gets a $50,000 bonus for winning the series. This came down to the wire, to the very last tournament. Even past the 50K main event, there was still some drama at the end in this 10K six match, which was the very last tournament. Kolonius, I believe, had to finish in second place or better in that final 10K to win the purple jacket, to overtake Artur Martirosyan for that top spot. And that's exactly what he did. 11 cashes throughout the Poker Masters. That's 30 events, 11 for 30 for more than $1.26 million. He wins the final event to cap it off. And he told Remco with Poker Central, like, that this is something that means a lot to him, which I think is cool. It reminds me a lot of Liam Shurovich when he won the Purple Jacket live back in 2018. We've had some other winners of the Purple Jacket who are more kind of like, nah, I'll leave their names off for now. But I think it's cool to see that this Purple Jacket really meant something to him, that this accomplishment really meant something to him. I'll just read the quote directly, real quick. Quote, "I'm very proud of this win because I think I played the best poker I've ever played, and the competition was really tough." And he's right. This is the best of the best. He says the Purple Jacket is an important title, and it feels about the same as winning the World Series of Poker Europe main event last year. But that time I had some tears when I won. I was more emotional. I want to thank everyone that supported me in Party Poker, Poker Central, Poker Go, Jeff Platt. He didn't say that. Everyone else that helped to organize these events. So major props to the Greek high stakes tournament player. Alexandros Kolonias wins the Purple Jacket.
We spoke a little bit about this last week, Jeff, but I'm really curious because for me, when I think about the Poker Masters, I'm basically thinking of the same 50 players or whatever, 45 players that we see sort of following the circuits, the high roller circuits around the world. And I just saw quite a few names that I don't normally see. And so do you think that shifting this to online invited a lot of this high stakes online crowd that maybe is less apt to travel to these live tournament circuits?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a great point. And sure, you see that same group of 50 that you just mentioned. Alex Soxon's in the mix, Liam Shurovich, Timothy Adams, Andras Nemeth. But you have these new players, I mean, creating a sense of stardom behind them. I mean, I wasn't too familiar with Alexandros Kolonias, wasn't too familiar with Artem Martirosyan. I know Linus Lilliger is an online legend, but to see these guys pop up in the Poker Masters online, competing with the best of the best, gives you a feel for the real high roller landscape, which kind of combined the live superstars and the online superstars. And along those lines, props to Party Poker for switching to real names. So I just think it gives you a better sense of who these guys are. And it was cool to see that overall competition with when the Jason Koons of the world do battle with the Linus Lilligers of the world.
Linus Lilligers. Well, speaking of Party Poker and of course our homies at Poker Central, we're looking at an online super high roller bowl.
Yeah, we're just right back to it with the online super high roller bowl series. It starts on May 23rd. It will technically end at the very end of May, as far as the standings are concerned, and it will award the winner a seat into the $100,000 main event, which will be the actual super high roller bowl online. Now, for these, we have our virtual Poker Go studio ready to go. So a lot of these events are going to have their final tables on day 2. They will be streamed on Poker Go. You will be able to see hole cards. We were just kind of winging it over the last couple of weeks on Facebook. No hole cards, just watching along live. But I think we have a pretty cool production process in place that we'll test out over the next couple of weeks and be good to go by the time this thing starts in late May.
That's actually something that Gigi's doing, and that we talked a little bit about in the Elke interview, is that's something that's been missing from the live streaming live online pokers.
Yeah, whatever you call
delay.
it. Yeah.
I mean, live with a delay, whatever it is that it's been missing hold cards, and that's something pretty key for entertainment. And Now, Chad, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this. In fact, as everyone knows, with me being gone for as long as I've been gone, I've missed a lot of things. But basically, as I exited my temporary break from poker, the biggest story to have gone down in probably the full 2 months before I left was the Mike Postle cheating scandal, drama, debacle. What is the latest? Catch us up.
Yeah, since you've been gone, the big stories have been basically some motions to dismiss that were filed by Mike Postle, filed by Stones, and things like that. So the absolute latest happened earlier this week when 2 motions were filed in the California courts, and it was both from the plaintiffs, who were being represented by Maurice Verstandig, Mac Verstandig, a noted gaming attorney. And the first was a motion seeking sanctions under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 11. against Mike Postle. Now, I'm just going to give you the quick layman's terms, cliff notes. Basically, what it is alleging is that the paperwork Mike Postle has been filing, and remember, he's representing himself right now. The paperwork that he's been filing as himself, they're saying there's no way he could have written these things. It's just too high of a standard. It's almost apparent that it was prepared by somebody else, somebody who's well-versed in law, and that it was either ghostwritten, meaning somebody else wrote it for him, and then he's just putting his name to it, or it was just plagiarized. The most likely candidate is William Portanova. He's an attorney that's previously been associated with Mike Postle. Doesn't seem to be anymore, but the motion that Mike Postle filed is almost identical, or a lot of similarities to a motion filed by William Portanova in a different case. And so why this is an issue, it's not expressly prohibited that ghostwriters can't write briefs, but it's kind of, it's frowned upon. There's moral and ethical considerations. And big concern is when somebody does that, is they don't understand what they're presenting, right? So I go to a lawyer and say, can you write this for me? I'm representing myself. I'm going to pass it off on my own. But then when we actually go to court, I don't know what I said in this motion. I don't understand the arguments. And that holds up the court process. And the courts really don't like that. And so they can do sanctions, penalties, if you will. And in this particular instance, they're seeking sanctions for basically one of two things: for Mike Postle to either admit that he has help and does have counsel, and for that counsel to come forward, or two, to disregard anything he's already filed, like his motion to dismiss, and make him refile under his own. If he's representing himself, then he's got to do that work on his own, is kind of the two arguments. They're not seeking any sort of monetary sanctions at this point, anything like that. Seems like the plaintiffs do want to have their day in court, but so now there's a time frame where Mike Postle has to respond. I reached out to both Postle and William Portanova to get comment, to get their take on these things, but neither replied by the time of publication of the article, which is up on PokerNews.com, nor have I heard anything from them since. Obviously, open invitation. I want to hear from that side and see what they have to say.
Dude, this thing is it just gets juicier and juicier all the time. Like, that is so crazy. And also, it's so interesting to, like, what would be the reason why you wouldn't just have your counsel then, right? Wouldn't it behoove you to have counsel? And I am so sorry. Can you guys hear it when people
You're very popular. It's fine.
The dinging. The ding,
How do I stop that from happening? I don't know how to stop it. Anyways, I'll research that later. But, why would you ever want to represent yourself, but then ask somebody to help you? Just hire that person to
I think and this is just speculation, is that hiring an attorney, especially a good one, is a very expensive proposition. And so if you don't want to spend the money, maybe you just ask, you try to take it one step at a time and say, all right, well, this step is I've got to file this motion. I don't really know what I'm doing. Let me outsource it. Have somebody write it for me and then just pass it off as my own. And of course, that's probably not the wisest strategy in any court battle, I would say. And it's something, that there is precedence in, and there's a reason that courts frown upon it, and a lot of the reasons that I explained. And speaking of that motion to dismiss, the second filing concerned that, and it was basically the plaintiffs answering back to Postle's motion to dismiss. And that motion relies on kind of three arguments. The first is that California doesn't allow for what's called negligence per se. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just sharing how I understand that.
You're crushing it so far, by the way. I'm
sure.
ready to hire you for my consigliere.
Right, and so the negligence per se is, let's look at it like a speeding example, right? So if I'm speeding and I cause an accident because I'm negligent, and I hurt somebody, I guess there's such thing out there as I can't be sued for something like that, for negligence per se. And I guess that's what Postle is arguing, is that California doesn't have, a negligence per se clause. And in this case, it's, I guess, I don't know, the negligence of the casino. I really don't know. But
so is Postle saying, like, if I did cheat, it's kind of like on the casino, so you just aren't allowed to sue me for that if I did cheat. I'm not
Right.
saying I cheated, but if I did cheat, you can't come after me for it.
Yeah, I guess I'm not 100% sure, but what I do know is that in the answer, the plaintiffs responded that, well, California does have negligence per se. They cited case law dating back 125 years. So no matter what the argument is, it kind of seems that, well, it's kind of a moot point because there is, in fact, negligence per se in California. The other one is something similar, and it is basically saying, let me pull up the article here real quick so I don't, there we go. Unjust enrichment does not exist in California. And I guess from what I understand about that, unjust enrichment, it kind of gives the judge a lot of leeway to basically, when something is apparently wrong and then there is a right to fix it, the judge has that authority to do it. They're saying it doesn't exist. Once again, they provided case law that it does in fact exist. So those two kind of are the smaller points. They were kind of addressed, and the final big argument in Postle's motion to dismiss, and once again, this is either his motion or possibly ghost written, that is up in the air, is that the original complaint doesn't give enough particularities, enough detail. So whenever somebody's being sued, for instance, Sarah, if I were to sue you, which I've thought about doing more times than one, is I have to, offer up something like a plain and simple statement that says why I'm suing you, what I'm suing you about, and, how much I'm suing you for. Just something baseline so you know that I'm suing you and what it's all about. Well, when it comes to fraud, which is the allegations here, you got to be a little bit more specific. You got to answer the who, what, when, where, and how of it all. And Postle is saying that the original complaint doesn't answer all of those questions, therefore it should just be dismissed. The plaintiffs, in this case, represented by Mac Verstandig, as we said, look, we've answered all those questions more than satisfactory in this 54-page filing. They've given examples, they've answered all those 5 questions we talked about. And, I think Postle says, well, you got to talk about every single hand. The plaintiffs are saying, we don't have to talk about every single hand right now. We can do that later or in a trial. But for the motion itself, we've met that. And now it's up to the courts to see which side they agree with.
It's so interesting because I think, the courts, I'm sure, are very well versed in many, many different avenues and have seen all sorts of different types of crimes. That being said, this is a pretty unusual situation. And I think probably that most judges or, even attorneys are not going to be familiar with seeing these kind of things, even that familiar with poker or live streaming poker. And so this is definitely going to take a lot of, I think, research and energy, and it will be really, really interesting for everyone involved.
I think it's going to be one way or the other, whichever way it goes and how this plays out for the future. This is going to be, a big case where precedent is set so that if there's ever anything in the future that involves, cheating or fraud or negligence, misconduct, whatever it might be, that this, this plaintiffs versus Postle case will be referenced throughout gaming history moving forward.
Man, I can't wait till it's over too. We've got to get Mac on the show. We've got to get Kelly Minkin on the show. We got to get all the homies. I think all this legal stuff is just super fascinating and so interesting because I think even, isn't it just you make these like motions to dismiss whatever Postle's doing, but it's basically like a dance like that never really works. They hardly ever really dismiss the cases, right? It just seems so interesting, and it's 50 pages. The other thing, like, good Lord.
Yeah, it's a dance, of sort of legal dance where you take the steps and eventually you'll get to the end. And would love to have those people you mentioned on the show. And I've actually communicated with him, and I'll say it here publicly. If Mike Postle ever wants to come on the show, we would of course open up the podcast for him to come on and talk about his side of the story and ask probably some hard questions and maybe get some answers. But I just wanted to be out there that if that side of him, William Portanova, anybody from the other side that we don't hear a lot from, want that platform, that the podcast is here, that I'm here, and happy to make that happen.
Wow. Yeah, I would love that. And it's so interesting to me that people even, it's just such a small world, right? That even people automatically were like, well, it might be this attorney because they've done things together in the past. Or it's just so hard in this day and age to get anything over on anyone. And man, anyways, good work, Chad. I think that's super interesting. And while I've got you over here, I know you're excited about your football things and sports and all that. So for people who want to get involved, isn't there some sort of fun sports related game on Odds Checker they can check out?
Yeah, so Odds Checker US is kind of the sister site to PokerNews. We work very closely with them, and right now they have what's called Trivia Checker. It's a fun, free-to-play game where you can answer questions about the NFL, NHL, NBA, and MLB. You amass points towards a leaderboard, and the leader at the end of May is going to win a great prize package. It's going to be a new computer, your choice, laptop, desktop, whatever it may be, up to $2,000, and a year-long subscription, premium subscription to Jonathan Little's PokerCoaching.com. So great prizes there. It's free to play. You can do it every day, so you get points every day towards the leaderboard. And it's more than just answering multiple choice questions. There's what are called boosts. So like little lifelines you might find in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. You can get double points, get a little assistance, whatever it might be. It's a lot of fun. I've been playing it myself. Obviously, I can't win the prize, but it's still fun just to get out there, test my sports trivia. And if you want to do the same, check out the link in the show notes or go to pokernews.com and just type in sports trivia in the search bar. And there's some articles that explain more, and there's some links on how you can go play.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to be doing that. And also I can't win the computer, so that would be a really good use of my time. But yeah, you guys definitely.
Here's your sports trivia on the spot, Sarah. What does NHL?
Alex Smith.
What is it? What does NHL stand for?
National Hockey League.
There we go.
What does MLB stand for?
Major League Baseball.
NBA.
National Basketball Association.
And NFL.
National Football League.
There you go. You know more than you probably thought. You got
Holy crap! I need to get on this trivia thing immediately. Just nail it. Yeah. Plus, I know about Alex Smith, so like I'm way ahead of the game. I'm pretty sure. Well, I think one of the other things that's been going down in the poker world, as we've all been, I don't even know how to explain how we've all been watching the Phil Galfond challenge. It has been a roller coaster. It has been emotional. It has been rewarding. I like to compare it to the hero's journey for those who have read Plato. I think Phil Galfond is the hero for a lot of us, and for him to just go through these struggles and admit it and sort of reflect again on his game and then come out on top. I mean, it's just been an amazing story. What is the latest going on with the Galfond challenge?
Yeah, so he's battling two guys at the same time. We have that match with Bill Perkins that is mostly taking place on Party Poker. They're streaming some of that. And he just kicked off his match with Action Freak, an online PLO legend. They're playing 15,000 hands. The side bet is 150,000 euros, even odds, 150K each way. And again, it's just underway. And Galfond just took an incredible lead. Boom. It almost felt like right off the bat, he was up more than 200,000 euros, but Action Freak certainly has worked his way back into the game plus some. They're neck and neck. They're effectively even. Action Freak is up 7,500 euros. Again, that's the Galfond challenge, which you can catch on Run It Once. And speaking of Run It Once, we have to thank Run It Once. They've been friends of the podcast. They've been great for our listeners because you can go to once.run/PNPod and you can receive an exclusive deposit bonus available only to you guys. It's cool software. I mean, we talk about it every week. They've got the awesome avatars. They've got a great rake back system. You get insight into the mind of the great Phil Galfond. Once.run/PNPod for your exclusive deposit bonus. Once.run/PNPod for the good people at Run It Once.
Man, and just so everyone knows, Farah did get back to me, and
nice.
I don't know why Phil is not on the show yet. I don't know what's going on, but Farah does not want to come on the podcast right now, but she said it in a very sweet, cool way. And we talked mom talk, but yeah, we've got to get Phil on to talk about all this business. I'm definitely interested in getting his perspective on everything. And I'm just so proud of him. He's just such a boss. And we've got some good news from the PokerNews side of things. So we've talked a lot about how things are changing, how people are having to adjust the way that we're proceeding as media in this poker industry, and we have in fact inked a deal to cover the Scoop events. So I don't know, Chad, I'm guessing you probably know quite a lot more about what that's going to look like and how we're going to live report this sort of new frontier.
Yeah, very excited about it. We're basically going to take our live updates that we usually do during, the World Series of Poker, that we do during the MSPTs, Run Good Series, anything. If you ever followed our live coverage, we're just going to try to apply that to online coverage, which we have done before. We've just never done it on quite as big of a scale as we're going to here with the Scoop. So we're actually going to be covering 30 events here coming up in May. That's just for the PokerStars Scoop. Very excited about that. There's a lot of great events. It's one of the premier online events, in all of online poker. It's been that way for many, many years. So really looking forward to providing coverage. Now, we'll be focusing on hands that happen, chip updates, but we're also going to try to sprinkle in some, more fun facts, if you will, about Scoop, about some of the players that are in there, and just really try to bring this online series more to life, if you will. And, I'm excited also to announce, Sarah, that we have worked a deal too with GG Poker, that we're also going to be doing updates for the upcoming World Series of Poker online series that's taking place there. So going to be lots of great online events coming. And, in a day and age when there's no live tournament poker being had, having the opportunity to cover these online events is great, not only for poker fans, so they get a little, get their fix of online poker, but we also get to put some of our reporters to work, which is great.
Yeah, when I spoke to Elke earlier, he said that it's 100 million guaranteed.
Yeah, which is, unprecedented in the online poker world. The Scoop, credit to them, they did announce first, and they came out with 85 million in guarantees, which is tremendous in itself. Everyone's thinking, hot damn, $85 million in guarantees. So GG Poker had the benefit of acting last. They had position, I guess. And so they said, let's make it 100 million guarantees. The big difference here, though, is, the Scoop is a bigger series. So GG Poker really taking a risk slapping that big of a guarantee on a shorter series. And yeah, I'm excited to see it. We've talked a lot about COVID-19 and the detriment to poker in general, but when it comes to online poker, it's, there's no denying that it's been a boost. People are stuck in their houses. They want to play some poker. They play online, and we're seeing it with some huge numbers. So.
Man, that's amazing. And I'm just, it's interesting because I can remember, just a couple of years ago when party poker really came in hard, especially in the live scene, but online as well, really trying to steal back some of the share of the market. There was lots of guarantees not met, which is great for poker and great for the poker player. And I think just in an industry where, I think a lot of poker players are just getting squeezed left and right. We've talked a lot about, a lot of different ways that players are just getting like little bits eked out here and there and trying to make a living. And it's just great when you see competition, and that competition is the best thing for poker players. To have these poker powerhouse companies sort of competing to bring them to their sites is only going to make everything better for everyone.
Yeah, competition is good. It always rises and makes everybody, up their game and have to raise the bar. And I think we're seeing that right now in the online realm. I honestly, I don't remember the last time that I was this excited about online poker.
Yeah.
It's Black Friday really knocked it back really far. And now I guess I feel like things are finally back up to this very exciting level. And I don't know, it's going to be cool, especially, this won't be the last. These great series coming up in May, there's going to be more in June, July, August, maybe into September, who knows? But, it's live poker is not coming back anytime soon. WSOP's already been postponed. And, I think it's going to be several months before we see any movement in the live realm. And until then, online poker is going to be the playground that all the kids are at.
Have you seen the blackjack, like plexiglass things that they're trying to tout? I was like, is this real life? What's going on here? And then, this is probably just really hopeful, but I've been thinking that, for a lot of these casinos who have been some of the biggest proponents against online poker and who have been some of the biggest funders of the lobbies against online poker, that as they start looking for ways to sustain themselves through these times, I wonder if we might see some of them shift over to wanting to see online poker in the US. As we know, right now the laws include that a lot of places you must have a land-based casino in order to have an online poker site in the United States. And I'm just hoping that a lot of these casinos are going to start thinking, maybe we just got to jump on board here and get a little piece, and maybe we can move this thing forward a little bit.
It's very possible. I mean, think of what Caesars is looking at, or El Dorado, or however that merger is looking out. And when they're looking at their balance sheet, so to speak, throughout this time, and just see a whole bunch of zeros, and then like, oh, WSOP.com, that's making a real decent amount of money during this time. And I'm sure,
like
Sarah, to your point,
is more than anything.
Right. And to your point, I'm sure the Venetian looks at all their zeros and are thinking, yeah, it'd be nice to have some online income at this point. So I think it can only get better from here as far as live casinos kind of coming around to online a bit more. I know MGM is big more in New Jersey versus Nevada, but I expect them to make an impact. They partner up with Party Poker, and I just think, we just kind of get going here in the next year or so.
To speak to that point, I do think that's going to be a silver lining coming off the back end of this pandemic is people looking at the numbers and realizing, well, we're shut down. Here are these companies that do have online gaming who have been making a little bit of money, and they're going to say, in the instance we ever have to shut down again in the future, if we have this in place, at least we're still making income. So I think a lot of these casinos that have either been against it or have just not been paying attention to online gaming, that they're going to start taking that a little more serious. And we've actually seen it in Connecticut. This was, not a huge story in the gaming space, but that Foxwoods and I believe Mohegan Sun, the tribes, went to the governor saying, can you issue an executive order to allow us to offer some online gaming? And the governor, declined, but it shows that they're out there, realizing, oh shit, we're shut down. Maybe we should have this online gaming going. And, I like to think that now they're going to make that more of a priority, that they're going to try to push that through. So they're not, left out in the wind like they are right now.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I didn't know that actually. See, okay, it's happening, folks. And this is what we've all been hoping for. It's a terrible, terrible thing, but just like I said, even last week with my leg, it's like the best of a bad thing. And I think as terrible and difficult, and even talking to Elke about what, the experience for him going through having COVID, COVID has affected everybody, but there's going to be some good sides to it too. There's definitely going to be some good stuff I hope to see coming from it. And especially, I didn't want to say it, but to see the Native American tribe people get on board with it, that's what we really got to get them behind this.
That'd be huge.
And I actually, real quick about that, I was talking to one of my high school buddies. He's Native American with the local tribes here in Wisconsin, and very well connected with the casino and the operations there. And we were talking about this exact point, and he did say that they are more aware of it, if you will, or it's something that they seem to be interested in at this point, when in the past they were kind of just dragging their feet or weren't very excited about it. So the fact that it's happening in Connecticut, that at least there's some mumblings here in Wisconsin, you got to think that that's happening all across the country. And I agree with you, Sarah. I think that getting the tribes on board would be huge. One of the issues in the past have been getting them to either agree to maybe work together, to put their collective interest above their singular interest. But maybe that's going to happen at this point in time. And we'll have to wait and see. But fingers crossed that online gaming continues to spread in the United States.
And my final point on this, if they do come around in California, then that is an absolute game changer, because they have been a huge roadblock to what could be just this incredible online poker environment. And then if you could merge California with Nevada and New Jersey, now we're starting to get somewhere.
I love it. I think that's so true. And it's just it's what people in the poker community have been saying for years, is we need to be thinking about the bigger picture, because the bigger picture is ultimately good for everyone. More people, more playing, it's ultimately good for everyone. And Yeah, go
I want to
ahead.
add one quick point. Something, we don't have the Poker Players Alliance anymore, right? So people used to rely on them to take the initiative, to reach out to politicians and what have you. I think what needs to happen here in the future, in the next year, 18 months or thereabouts, is two-pronged. I think players really do need to reach out to their local representatives and say, hey, online poker, online gaming, look what happened, during the pandemic and what happened in some of these states like Nevada and New Jersey, where they were continuing to at least make some money. And to that end, I'd like to see us as an industry somehow compile some numbers or make it easy reference where somebody could say, here's a link or here's a printout of the sort of numbers we're talking about that New Jersey pulled in when all the other casinos were shut down. I think that would be good information for politicians to know, to look at, and even other, casinos that might not have online gaming to have easy accessibility to that. And, I don't know the best way to go about that, but hopefully some of us in the industry can put our heads together and maybe come up with some ideas.
Because it's exactly what you've said. I've been in meetings before where it's pretty clear that these numbers, right, are confidential. None of the poker sites want to release really any of their numbers ever. But if we just all collectively would understand, like, okay, this is for the greater good, let's get this thing going. And really, I would say if you're a software engineer or if you already have a skin developed or something, Fazio, I would be going to all of these casinos immediately and trying to reach out and try to set something up. You could probably make a killing right now if you could jump in and help them set things up now on the ground floor. So there's your business advice for the day. If I knew anything about it, I would be doing it. I can tell you that. Anything else, you guys, before we let the homies go?
I'll tease a little bit of an upcoming episode. I think we might try to spin this off as a standalone podcast episode, but I did have the opportunity to catch up with a poker Hall of Famer who has been out of the game for a long time. A lot of people thought he may have passed on, but he didn't. He's in fact still around, and that is Crandall Addington, who has the record for making the main event final table. He's made it 7 times.
Wow.
Never won it, but he was big back in the 70s. He was one of the Texas road gamblers alongside, Sailor Roberts and Doyle Brunson. He's still good friends with Doyle Brunson. He was an entrepreneur, a businessman, made a fortune in the oil, the oil fields down in Texas, but was really big in poker in the 70s. He was at the Texas Road Gamblers Convention in Reno in 1969, which, eventually morphed into the WSOP the following year. And so he is really one of the, forefathers of poker, in my opinion. And the stories that he shared with me were just pretty incredible. He told one story, just real quick to tease it, about how he was really the first person, because of his education and his background in statistics, to figure out that if me and Sarah go to the flop heads up, that she's unlikely to make even a pair, so that if I just bet, chances are the math says that she's going to fold. Like that now just seems, standard, but back then they didn't know that. So
he invented c-betting.
The concept of it, more or less, like
That's
he
amazing.
realized, that if you just bet, chances are they're going to fold. And he'll tell the story. He'll share that he made a fortune doing that. And that was just one example where it just left me so excited. So I'm going to work that into an episode for the podcast. I'm going to work it into an article for the front page of PokerNews. Hopefully we'll have that up in a week or two. Very excited. For me personally, as somebody who loves poker history, as you both know, having the opportunity to get in touch with him, and then for him to take 40 minutes out of his day to actually chat with me, it was just something I'll always remember.
Yeah, I love that. Looking forward to that for sure. And Maria Konnikova in 2 weeks, her book, The Biggest Bluff, which we've heard so much about, her entering the poker tournament landscape, her getting help from a coach by the name of Eric Seidel. That book comes out in late June. We'll talk to Maria in 2 weeks. I got an advanced copy. I read the book. It is awesome. I had high expectations. It blew those away. So I'm really looking forward to sitting down and chatting with Maria in a couple weeks.
Ooh, I need to get me an advanced copy.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to hear that. And Chad, that's just one of my favorite things about you, actually, is your love of poker history. I think
the old
it's
school
contagious.
approach. I love it.
Yeah, it's just absolutely, it makes me excited too. We'll be looking forward to that. All right, guys, we will catch you on the flip side. Deuces.